Kite Runner, Chapter 17. Rahim Khan slowly uncrossed his legs and leaned against the bare wall in the worry. The deliberate weight of a man whose every movement triggers spikes of pain. Outside, a donkey was braying and someone was shooting something in earth. The sun was beginning to set, glittering red through the cracks between the ramshackle buildings. It hit me again. The enormity of what I had done that winter and that following summer. The names rang in my head. Hassan, Sorhab, Ali, Rosanna, and Zanubor. Hearing Rahim Khan speak Ali's name was like finding an old dusty music box that hadn't been opened in years. The melody began to play immediately. Who did you eat today, Babalu? Who did you eat? You slant a Babalu? I tried to conjure Ali's frozen face to really see his tranquil eyes. But time can be a greedy thing. Sometimes it steals all the details for itself. Is Hassan still in that house now? I asked. Rahim Khan raised the teacup to his parched lips and took a sip. He then finished an envelope from the breast pocket of his vest and handed it to me. For you. I tore the slit envelope inside. I found a Polaroid photograph and a folded letter. I stared at the photograph for a full minute. A tall man dressed in a white turban and a grease-striped chap stood with a little boy in front of a set of wrought iron gates. Some light slanted in from the left, casting a shadow on half of his rotted face. He was squinting and smiling at the camera, showing a pair of missing front teeth. Even in this blurry Polaroid, the man in the champagne exuded a sense of self-assurance, of ease. It was in the way he stood, his feet slightly apart, his arms comfortably crossed on his chest, his head tilted a little toward the sun. Mostly it was in that way he smiled. Looking at the photo, one might have concluded that this was a man who thought the world had been good to him. Rahim Khan was right. I would have recognized him if I had bumped into him on the street. The little boy stood barefoot, one arm wrapped around a man's thigh, his shaved hair resting against his father's hip. He was grinning and squinting. I unfolded the letter. It was written in verse. No dots were omitted, no crosses forgotten, no words blurred together. The handwriting was almost childlike. In the needles, I began to read. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most mercifully, Amir Aga, with my deepest respects. Rosanna Jan, Sorahab, and I pray that this latest letter finds you in a good health and in the light of Allah's God graces. Please offer my warmest thanks to Rahim Khan Sahib for carrying it to you. I am hopeful that one day I will hold one of your letters in my hands and read of your life in America. Perhaps a photograph of you will even grace our eyes. I have told much about you to Rosanna and Sorhab about us growing up together and playing games and running in the streets. They lauded the stories of all the mischief you and I used to cause. Amir Aga. Alas, the Afghanistan of our youth is long dead. Kindness is gone from the land and you cannot escape the killings. In Kabul, fear is everywhere. In the streets, in the stadium, in the markets. It is a part of our lives here, Amir Aga. The savages who rule our watan don't care about human decency. The other day, I accompanied Rosanna Yen to the bazaar to buy some potatoes and naan. She asked the vendor how much the potatoes cost, but he did not hear her. I think he had a deaf ear. So she asked louder, and suddenly a young Tally ran over and hit her on the thighs with his wooden stick. He struck her so hard she fell down. He was screaming at her and cursing and saying, "The Ministry of Vice and Virtue does not allow women to speak loudly." She had a large purple bruise on her leg for days, but what could I do except stand and watch my wife get beaten? If I thought that the dog would have surely put a bullet in me, and gladly, then what would happen to my Surhab? The streets are full and not already of hungry orphans, and every day I thank Allah that I am alive. Not because I fear death, but because my wife has a husband and my son is not an orphan. I wish you could see Surhab. He's a good boy. Rahim Khan Sahib and I have taught him to read and write, so he does not grow up stupid like his father. And can he shoot with that slangs shoot? I take Surhab around Kabul sometimes and buy him candy. There's still a monkey man in Shari now, and if we run into him, I pay him to make his monkey dance for Surhab. You should see how he laughs. The two of us often walk up to the cemetery on the hill. Do you remember how we used to sit under the pomegranate tree there and read from the Shanamaha? The droughts have dried the hill and the tree hasn't borne fruit in years. But Surhab and I still sit under its shade and I read to him from the Sharahama. It is not necessary to tell you that his favorite part is the one with the namesake, Rostam and Surhab. Son, he will be able to read from the book himself. I am very proud and very lucky father. Amiraga. Rahim Khan Sahib is quite ill. He coughs all day and I see blood on his sleeve when he wipes his mouth. He has lost much weight and I wish he would eat a little of the shorwa and rice that Frozana Jan cooks for him, but he only takes a bite or two, and even that I think is out of courtesy to Frozana Jan. I am so worried about this dear man. I pray for him every day. He is leaving for Pakistan in a few days to consult some doctors there in Inshallah. He will return with good news, but in my heart I fear for him. Rosa Nayan and I have told little Surhab that Rahim Khan Sahib is going to be well. What can we do? He is only 10 and he adores Rahim Khan Sahib. They have grown so close to each other. Rahim Khan Sahib used to take him to the bazaar for balloons and biscuits, but he is too weak for that now. I have been dreaming a lot lately, Aga. Some of them are nightmares, like hanged crops rotting in the soccer field with blood-red grasses. I wake up from those short of breath and sweaty mostly though I dream of good things, and I praise Allah for that. I dream that Rahim Khan Sahib will be well. I dream that my son will grow up to be a good person, a free person, and an important person. I dream that Laula flowers will bloom in the streets of Kabul again, and rhubarb music will play in the samovar house, and kites will fly in the sky. And I dream that someday you will return to Kabul to revisit the land of our childhood. If you do, you will find an old faithful friend waiting for you. May Allah be with you always, Hassan. I read the letter twice. I folded the note and looked at the photograph for another minute. I pocketed both. How is he? I asked. That letter was written 6 months ago, a few days before I left for Peshawar, Rahim Khan said. I took the Polaroid the day before I left. A month after I arrived in Peshawar, I received a telephone call from one of my neighbors in Kabul. He told me this story. Soon after I took my leave, a rumor spread that a Hazara family was living alone in a big house in Wazir Akbar Khan, or so the Taliban claimed. A pair of Talib officials came to investigate and interrogate Hassan. They accused him of lying when Hassan told them he was living with me, even though many of the neighbors, including the one who called me, supported Hassan's story. The Talibis said he was a liar and a thief like all Hazaras and ordered him to get his family out of the house by the sundown. Hassan protested, but my neighbor said that the Talibs were looking at the big house. Like, how did he say it? Yes, like wolves looking at a flock of sheep. They told Hassan they would be moving into this, supposedly keep it safe until I return. Hassan protested again, so they took him to the street. No, I breathed and ordered him to kneel. No, God, no. And I shot him in the back of the head. No! Rosanna came screaming and attacked them. No, shot her too. Self-defense, they claimed later. But all I could manage was to whisper, no, 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 over and over again. I kept thinking of that day in 1974 in the hospital room after Hassan heart lip surgery. Baba, Rahim Khan, Ali, and I had huddled around Hassan's bed, watched him examine his new lip in a handheld mirror. Now, everyone in that room was either dead or dying, except for me. Then I was something else, a man dressed in a herringbone vest, pressing the muzzle of his Kalashnikov to the back of Hassan's head. The blast echoes through the street of my father's house. Hassan slumps to the asphalt, his life of inquietly loyalty drifting from him like the wind-blown kites he used to chase. The Taliban moved into the house. Rahim Khan said the pretext was that they had evicted a trespasser. Hassan and Rosanna's murders were dismissed as a case of self-defense. No one said a word about it. Most of it was fear of the Taliban, I think, but no one was going to risk anything for a pair of Hazara servants. What did they do with Surahab? I asked. I felt tired, trained. A cutting fit gripped Rahim Khan and went on for a long time. When he finally looked up, his face was flushed and his eyes bloodshot. I heard he's in an orphanage somewhere in Carthage, Amirjan. Then he was coughing again. When he stopped, he looked older than a few moments before, like he was aching with each coughing fit. Amirjan, I summoned you here because I want to see you before I die, but that's not all. I said nothing. I think I already knew what he's going to say. I want you to go to Kabul. I want you to bring Surahab here, he said. I struggled to find the right words. I barely had time to deal with the fact that Hassan was dead. Please hear me. I know an American pair here in Peshawar, a husband and a wife named Thomas and Betty Caldwell. They are Christians and they run a small charity organization that they manage with private donations. Mostly they house and feed Afghan children who have lost their parents. I have seen the place. It's clean and safe. The children are well cared for, and Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell are kind people. They have already told me that Surahab will be welcome to their home, and Rahim Khan, you can be serious. Children are fragile, Amir Jan.